Scaling your rental portfolio is where most investors break, not because the deals are bad, not because the market shifts. They break because they build a portfolio that can't operate. Here's the thing nobody tells you up front. Most properties don't make you wealthier if you can't control the operations behind them, and they make you feel overwhelmed. They make you reactive, and eventually they make you want to quit. So today, we're going to walk through exactly why that happens, what the real problem is, and how to fix it before it actually starts costing you money. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you do not miss practical real estate training built for serious operators. If you're new to the channel, I'm Bud Evans. I spent 35 years in the Air Force, 13 years as a police officer, served as the mayor of Cinnaminson, New Jersey. I am an active real estate investor focused on single family and small multifamily properties. I mentor veterans and first responders in real estate. I founded a low-cost, investor-focused property management company. Hey, look, most investors walk into this with the same belief. They think scaling just means more problems. And on the surface, they're right, because they're scaling chaos. Let me explain what that actually looks like and why it matters to you. Your first property runs on effort. You answer the calls, you text tenants back, you remember the lease terms in your head. That's great. You react when something breaks. That works for one property, maybe two. You're going to feel controlled, you're going to feel capable, and you are. At that scale, effort is enough. And then you add more doors. Now, at 5 properties, things are going to start slipping. Maintenance call might get missed. A late payment doesn't get followed up on fast enough. A vendor no-shows and nobody notices for 3 or 4 days. You're still managing by memory, still operating by feel, and the cracks are really starting to show. You're still in the game, but you're really starting to feel it. At 10 properties, the whole thing collapses. You miss rent payments. Tenants are waiting on maintenance with no one tracking the timeline. Contractors don't show up because there's no way to keep them accountable. Messages get buried in text threads, expenses you can't account for at month end. You're not investing anymore, you're reacting, and you're buried. And here is what most investors get wrong when they hit the wall. They think the stress is coming from owning more properties. It's not. Stress is coming from trying to operate multiple properties with single property habits. That's the mistake here, and it's an expensive one. I've seen investors sell good assets because they couldn't manage them. Solid cash flow in properties, gone because the owner was overwhelmed. Not because the deal failed, but because the system failed, or more accurately, because there wasn't a system. So here's the turning point. You don't scale properties, you scale systems. If you don't understand that, you're going to cap out early and you're going to burn out. If you do understand it and you build accordingly, you're going to handle 10, 20, 30, 50 doors without losing control of your operation. So let's walk through exactly how you're going to do that. First, communication control. Right now, most investors are running scattered communications. Texts from one tenant, emails from another, a voicemail that you haven't returned the call yet, a contractor who communicates through direct messages. That's a guaranteed way to lose control as volume increases. You need one centralized system. Every tenant request goes through it. Every maintenance issue gets logged there. Clients, as a property manager, try to message me through WhatsApp. I say once, do not use this system, respond through the portal. If they continuously go through there, that's not going to work for me. Follow the guidelines. Every conversation has to be documented. If it's not tracked, it didn't happen, guys. That's not a suggestion. That's a rule. Because when things go sideways, and they will, documentation is what's going to protect you legally, financially, and operationally. Pick a platform and enforce it. Don't let tenants or clients run route around. Second, standard operating procedures. Most investors don't have them. They handle things as they come up. That works fine until volume starts to increase and then everything becomes inconsistent. One tenant gets a 3-day grace period on late rent, another doesn't. One maintenance issue gets resolved in 48 hours, another drags on for a couple of weeks. The inconsistency will cost you money and creates legal exposure. You need defined processes for tenant screening, lease execution, rent collection, maintenance handling, and move in and move out inspections. Same steps every time, no improvising. So if you have a military or a law enforcement background, you already understand this concept. Checklists, repeatable action, clear expectations. Apply that discipline here. Without SOPs, every problem becomes a new decision, and that will slow you down and eventually wear you out. Third, a structured maintenance system. This is where most portfolios break first. Here's the mistake investors make. They try to control every repair personally. They become the middleman on everything. The tenant calls them, they call the vendor. The vendor calls them back. They relay the message. Back and forth creates delays and it burns you out at scale. So you need pre-approved vendors with defined scopes of work, clear pricing expectations, and assigned response timelines. The processes should run like this. Tenant submits a request through your property management system. You or your manager triages it. The vendor executes. You oversee the outcome. You're not swinging the hammer. You're controlling the process. That's the difference between an investor and a seasoned operator. Fourth, let's talk about rent collection discipline. This is where investors get emotional, and emotion kills consistency. Late payments are not a personal issue. They're a business issue. You need clear due dates, clearly defined late fees, and consistent enforcement processes. No exceptions. The moment you make an exception for one tenant, others are going to test your boundaries. Now you're chasing rent. Now you're having conversations that you shouldn't need to have. Consistency removes that problem entirely. Document your policy in the lease, enforce it the same way every time, and then let the systems do the work. If you have a tenant who decides that they can't make, for whatever reason, the payment on time, and they notify you, and you establish a set payment system, and they violate that system, or they miss one payment, do not wait, file eviction. It will come back and bite you in the tail if you don't. They will continue to believe that they have the authority to miss payments every once in a while, and it'll be okay because they'll let me do it. Fifth, financial visibility. If you don't know your numbers, you're guessing, and guessing at scale is going to cost you more than you realize. You need to track your income, your expenses, your maintenance costs, your vacancy, and reserves every single month. No skipping, because when you scale, small mistakes will compound fast. A $200 oversight now at one property is annoying. That same oversight across 10 properties is now $2,000. That's a problem. And if you don't catch it until year end, it's worse. Monthly reviews give you the visibility to catch problems early and protect your margin. Now, here's the part most investors don't want to admit. They're at a bottleneck. They believe more involvement equals better control, but it doesn't. It creates dependence on you. Every decision runs through you. Every issue lands on you. You stop owning a portfolio, and the portfolio owns you. That's where burnout comes from. Not from the number of properties, from being the single point of failure in your own operation. So the shift is this. Stop doing everything yourself. Start overseeing everything. Build layers. Systems handle communications. Processes handle decisions. Vendors handle execution. You monitor performance and herd the cats. You don't need to react. You review it. That's how professional operations function. That's how scale becomes manageable instead of miserable. Hey, if you're a veteran and you're trying to build that kind of operation without actually losing control, that's exactly what gets broken down inside the war room with David Perret. Real systems, real operations, not theory. If you need direct help building your infrastructure or figuring out your next move, and you're not a veteran, but you're a first responder or someone else who wants to get involved in real estate, book a one-off call through buddevans.com. Okay, let's close the loop. When should you bring in a property manager? Here's the wrong answer. When I have enough doors. What is that? That's not a trigger. Fuzzy targets don't get hit. Here's the right answer. When your time is maxed out, when your systems are breaking under the load, when you're reacting more than you're leading, you need to bring it in right before that. But understand this clearly. A property manager is not a magic pill. It does not fix a currently broken operation. It exposes one. If your systems are weak, poor performance is going to show up immediately. Missed expectations, communication failures, vendor accountability problems. You still need structure before you hand it off. The only difference with a property manager is that someone else is going to execute the system. The structure still has to be yours. If you go that route, do it right. Define expectations in writing before anyone signs anything. Set your reporting standards. Track performance against them monthly. Hold them accountable, because at the end of the day, it's your asset. The management company works for you. Treat it that way. Manager. As always, here is your checklist that you can use. Centralize all tenant communication into a single platform and enforce it as the only acceptable channel. Then build written standards and operating procedures for every task that you repeat, including screening, leasing, move-ins, and move-outs. Create a structured maintenance process with vetted vendors, defined response timelines, and clear pricing expectations. Enforce your rent collection rules consistently with no exceptions, and document the policy in every lease. Track income, expenses, maintenance costs, vacancy, and reserves every month without gaps. Next, identify that you are the bottleneck and build systems that remove you from daily execution. Next, delegate execution to vendors and processes while keeping oversight and accountability on you. When you're ready, bring in property management when the time is maxed out or your systems are breaking, not based on your door count. Verify any property manager has clearly defined written expectations and reporting standards before you hire them. If you build that foundation, scaling becomes predictable. If you skip it, it becomes stressful. It's not about working harder. It's about operating correctly and working smarter. That's the difference between someone who owns rentals and someone who runs a real estate business. If this helped you out, do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and share this with a few friends if you have any. Thanks for watching. I'm Bud Evans. Aim high, execute fast. See you on the next one.